Never mind. Hey everybody, welcome to Wine with Dave. It is wine o'clock, as it says right there, and it's going to be wine o'clock for the next 60 minutes. Can you imagine? My camera's a little low here. Gotta get a little closer in. Hope everyone's doing well on this 4th of July approaching weekend. I'm excited. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great weekend. Trying to keep the distance from people, which I've been good at. I hope you guys have been good at. Hey, if you're listening and you're watching, just type in where you're from. Just type in Warwick, Cranston, Providence, Fall River, California, wherever. When you type it in, I'm going to click on it. It's going to show up on the screen so you can be part of the show. So I like to have everybody part of the show and just like listening. Tonight I have a guest, really good friend of mine, Joy Russell. She's a grief coach, and my eyes were opened. I thought grief coach was just about the loss of people, but there's a lot of other things that we deal with in loss. So I'm not going to steal any thunder there, but just hang in, and I'm going to bring her on in a little bit. Meanwhile, I'm going to get to the first segment. Let me just get this all queued up. Get it all queued up. All right. So again, if you're first time here, go ahead and follow us. Just go to the top of the page, click follow. That way when I go live every Thursday night at 9, you'll be reminded. And I try to bring on some really interesting guests. So that is what's good about it. Hello, Stephanie from Brooklyn, New York. Yeah, Brooklyn. I miss going to Brooklyn. I love it. My son and I go to New York a lot. But we haven't spent a lot of time in Brooklyn, so we will. Hope you're staying safe, Stephanie. And again, wine o'clock. This is Wine with Dave. I don't have my wine glass. I kind of rushed to my seat, got everything set up, forgot to pour wine. You know, that stuff. That happens, right? Let me know that you can hear me, see me. Hold on, let me just do a quick little check. Quick little check here. Input, internal marketing. Okay. All right. So everybody can hear me. I'll lower that a little bit. All right. So that should be good. Yeah, my next segment is Did You Know? I'm going to get right into it right now. And it's actually a time where you can guess some of the answers. Really interesting, off-the-wall, wacky stuff just to get the party going. And it's a couple minutes after 9, so we have some time. Then I'll bring my guest on. All right, so Stephanie, you can kind of guess on some of these questions. Hopefully you'll get some of them right. If you are not on the Facebook Wine with Dave page and you're leaving a comment, I don't see it. It can't show up, unfortunately. So if you want to leave a comment, just skip over to the Wine with Dave Facebook page, and there I am. But Stephanie is on, and see her little comment here shows up. So that's how it works. All right, let's go to the next segment. We ready? This is Did You Know? Did you know? Did you know that? And I know you didn't know this because this is really, really weird. Did you know that sumo wrestlers make babies cry for good luck? Did you know that? They will come out, go into the audience, and look really mean at them, the babies, and they start crying, and that's good luck for them. Look it up. Sumo wrestler. Make babies cry. Did you know that a woman lost her wedding ring and found it 16 years later wrapped around a carrot inside of her garden? The seed just happened to start growing right in the middle of the ring, and the ring got wrapped around the carrot. Very interesting. 16 years later. Imagine that. It was a 1 carat diamond. A little humor there. Did you know that 1/4 of all your bones are located in your feet? Yes, 25% of your bones are located in your feet. So if someone said, oh, I broke a bone, you could say, let me guess, was it in your foot? Because you'd be close to being right. And they'll say, how did you know that? Because 25% of your bones are in your feet. Did you know that a human, this is weird, a human can swim through a blue whale's veins? That's pretty big. A human can swim through the veins of a blue whale. Did you know that crying makes you feel happier? That's interesting, huh? It releases something in the brain. Crying is good. That's a good did you know, especially for tonight. Did you know that international astronauts must be able to speak Russian? Привет. До свидания. Got to speak Russian if you want to go to the space station. And here's the first interactive question that if you know the answer, type it in, okay? She's saying ugh. I know that was a bad joke. Vincent Conner, Connare, Vincent Conner created something so ugly that even he himself has only used it once. What did he create? Vincent Conner. He created something. It was so ugly, only he used it once, but it's still around to this day. In fact, it's quite popular. Just type it in. Just type in Vincent and then type in what you think he created. Bob Goldberg, niet. Bob might know that. Vincent Conner created something so ugly that he only used it once, and it's still around this day. All right, did you know that a tea bag was an accidental invitation? In 1908, New York tea merchant Thomas Sullivan sent samples of tea leaves to some of his customers in small silken bags. They thought that was how you would have put it in the tea. They didn't rip it open and pour it in. They put the bag in, and they're like, this is great. What a great idea. Can you send more of those bags of tea? And he's like, wait, you put it in? So, hence the tea bag. Almost 163,000 pints of Guinness are wasted in facial hair each year. Just dripping down the beard. 163,000. Here's the next guess. The majority of people in this country believe in elves. What country is that? Did you know that grooves in the road on Route 66 play America the Beautiful? They've cut grooves into the road. If you travel 45 miles an hour and you hit this stretch of highway on Route 66, if you stay at 45, the grooves are tighter cut to make a higher pitch and lower cut to make a lower. It's cut into the road that as you're driving over it, it makes a higher pitch, lower pitch on your tires, and it actually plays America the Beautiful. I bet you didn't know that. Route 66. Got to go to Route 66. The inventor of the Pringles can is now buried in one. And here's the third question. Elvis Presley's manager sold badges while the Elvis craze was going on and people would buy them. What did he put on the badge? It was a phrase, and they were really popular. All right. So we're going to go to our next. Oops. We're going to go back here. What am I doing here? All right, so we're here. Pictures showed up. All right, so the first one, let's see if anyone got it right. Let's see, like Stephanie, from Brooklyn. Okay, the first one is Vincent Conner created something so ugly that he himself only used it once. What did he create? Bob, you are right. It's some font, but what was that font? It's known as the ugliest font in the world, and I agree. It's called Comic Sans. Don't ever use Comic Sans. Don't ever. It's ugly. He only used it once on a birthday invitation. Can you believe that? Interesting. All right, majority of people in what country still believes in elves? The majority of the people. We're not saying some. Most people in this country, when you talk to them about elves, they believe they really exist in their country. So, what country is that? What country is that? You could Google it, but I wouldn't. That's cheating, right? And then the other one is Elvis Presley's manager made badges to sell during the Elvis craze. What did he put on that badge? It was a phrase. All right, so I guess no one's guessing. That's weird. All right, well, the country is Iceland. Most Icelanders believe in elves. They believe they exist. That's kind of cool. I was in Iceland, and those people are pretty cool people. But they believe in elves, so. Elvis Presley's manager sold badges. What's on the badge? Anyone voting? No one's voting. Nobody's voting tonight. Wow, he could win a lot of money. Could win a lot of money. He printed I Hate Elvis badges because he knew a lot of people love him, a lot of people hate him. He was going to make money off both sides, and they did really well. I Hate Elvis. Okay, so we're going to get into the next segment here before we bring the guest on, and I'm really excited about her because today is a special day for me too as well. On this day, now I can put that random photo that showed up. Where is it? There it is. There it is. On this day, July 2nd, 1937, the Lockheed aircraft carrying American aviator Amelia Earhart and navigator Frederick Noonan is reported missing near Howland Island in the Pacific. The pair were attempting to fly around the world when they lost their bearings during the most challenging leg of the global journey. They were almost there. Lao, New Guinea to Howland Island, a tiny island 2,227 nautical miles away in the center of the Pacific Ocean. Quite a distance, huh? The U.S. Coast Guard cutter called Itasca was in sporadic radio contact with Earhart as she approached Howland Island and received messages that she was lost and running low on fuel. Her last words by radio, the last words we ever heard from Amelia Earhart, she said, 1/2 hour fuel and no landfall. Soon after, she probably tried to ditch the Lockheed in the ocean. No trace of Earhart or Noonan was ever found, according to that article that I read. However, if you Google Amelia Earhart found, there's a photo that was in a file that was classified. Now the bin was now not classified, and someone looked at it, and it was in the Marshall Islands, and there's all these native people, dark skin, women had long black hair. Every woman in this island, but there was a woman, very short hair, and a man with a receding hairline, completely did not look like natives. And they believed that that was her, that she actually was about to crash in the ocean, probably saw this little island and went towards it. And just, plane went under the water, but they had a life raft, flowed to the island, got rescued by the Japanese, and it shows her on the dock with her back to the photo taken. And interesting, look it up. This day, July 2nd, 1937. I think that's fascinating. Let's see. Bob Goldberg. I'd be happy in Iceland then. Depends on what kind of elves. Yeah. Are they good elves or bad elves? Are you a good witch or a bad witch? Here's a cool fact. Amelia and her navigator are featured on an episode of Star Trek Voyager. Did not know that. Wow, that's cool. All right, we're going to get into our conversation with a good friend of mine. Let me get rid of Amelia Earhart. One last time we could say goodbye to Amelia. Hopefully she wasn't tortured or in prison, but if that was her and she lived, then it wasn't a good ending for her, unfortunately. All right, that's ending on a bad note, huh? Now we're going to talk about grief and loss. Yay! This is a real fun episode. Actually, it is fun. It is a fun episode. Tonight, my guest is really, really awesome. I did not load her video in. Hold on one second, because there is a way that I like to bring these on. So my guest is Joy Russell. Joy is a grief and joy restoration coach. Joy restoration, that's interesting. Not unfamiliar with grief herself. She was dealt some horrible news one day and decided to do something about it. Joy has written a grief journal. She's an active blogger on the subject, and she's a very good friend of mine. Check this out. It's going to take a second because I didn't load the video. Hold on a second. Let me find it here. Yeah, okay, here we go. Check this out.
Hi, I'm Joy Russell, the founder and face of Joy Through Joy. I'm a certified Christian grief and joy restoration coach and also the author of the 21-Day Gratitude Journal. I have a passion for helping people live full and happy lives. Matthew 5:4 tells us, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." You know, experiencing loss is an inevitable part of living in this world. The journey of grief is not one to walk alone. I will walk with you on this journey as you move forward and find peace and reclaim your happiness.
There she is. Hi, Joy.
Hey, Dave.
Can
How
you
are
hear
you?
us? You
Thank
okay?
you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to chat tonight about grief and joy restoration coaching.
Yeah, no problem. Not a problem. I always wanted to have you on the show, and it's just turned out to be tonight. Just worked out. It was your schedule was opened up, and that was really really good. I hope everyone can hear her and see her clearly. I know it's coming in a little fuzzy. Just let me know if it's okay. Just leave a comment. That'd be great. I got everything. I got my logo floating over my name. I got things. I guess I should prepare for this stuff. So it's good that you're doing well. You're getting ready for the 4th of July weekend?
Yes, yes. I'm down visiting my parents, so that's been very nice and fun. I've been down here since Monday, and I'm going to stay through the weekend.
That's cool. Where are they, on the Cape?
Yes, Cape Cod, down in Falmouth. So, yeah, beautiful sun, beautiful place. Nice to visit and spend time with family.
Yeah, that's cool. Let me just affect your camera here, because bright. Let me bring up the brightness. There we go. I can change some things here, which is good. Do that or do that. No, keep it right there. That's much brighter. Okay. Yeah, you look like you're freezing up a little bit here. Anyway, yeah, let's just get into this. Got some questions for you. So, Joy Through Joy is your business name. What does Joy Through Joy mean, and how did you come about being a grief and joy restoration coach?
So actually, Joy Through Joy has a double meaning. First of all, you can find joy in your life through working with Joy, me. Obviously, that's my name. But much more importantly, I think, is the fact that if you've lost joy, you can, through working through grief or joy restoration coaching processes and tools, working through that, you can find joy again and reclaim joy in your life again. And how I got into this, and Dave, I don't know if you have a photo. This whole grief and joy restoration coaching is dedicated to a loved one that I lost, Michael Harold. And you know, it's amazing as I look back right now with how God planned things decades ago. So I met Michael in college, and we dated for a very long time. And unfortunately, we were young, so we separated. And fast forward, excuse me, but a couple decades later, we found each other again, and we had some awesome years of studying the Bible together, talking, going on walks, so many things that we were just constantly talking and together. And unfortunately, on his 52nd birthday, God peacefully called him home. And the picture I think that Dave shows you is 2 days prior to his passing. Michael and I, and you can read about this on my website under the dedication to Michael, but 2 days before his passing, Michael and I went and worked at something called Reviver Challenge, and we helped people come over a 10-foot wall. And, you know, I kind of like to look back and say, you know, that wall is a way for us to overcome obstacles. And so, you know, when he passed 2 days later, I was shocked. I was devastated. It was the worst pain that I've ever felt in my life. And I kind of wish I had had a coach back then, because what I didn't understand was the ability to work through my grief. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to work through my grief, and it actually took years. And that's what started me on my journey to understand what it means to help others process through the grief journey, no matter what that grief is.
Mm-hmm.
It's anything that causes you pain and sorrow. So, I've been blessed that, I'm Christian coaching, but I'm help anyone. But for me, the Christian part is God gives each of us gifts to use in our life. And the gift that God gave me was compassion and a gift of heart. And through my pain, God led me to coach people and use my pain for purpose to help other people move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm thrilled to be here. It was a long journey for me, and there's still times when the grief comes back to me. But he used me because of the talents and gifts that he gave me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was thinking about that, how, Mike's passion and who he was and his passing was like your certificate to become a grief coach. Some people go to college to learn.
Absolutely.
You learned how to be so empathetic through that. That was a horrible time, and I was there with you when you went through that. It still hurts today.
It does, and that's the thing about grief, right? And David, I know, because you and Michael were like best friends practically. You've known each other for a very long time, and I know how hard it was for you as well. But it's really can be really challenging to overcome, but work through it. Can really help people reduce the amount of time it takes to get through grief, though
Mm-hmm.
grief will never leave you, because grief means you loved and you lost.
Yeah. Yeah, you can take some solace in that, knowing that, hey, at least I loved a lot, but sometimes in the moment that doesn't help.
Yep.
It's like, but I just want that person back.
No,
Yeah, and today,
absolutely. And that's the stages of grief, which we'll touch very briefly on later, is, that's all part of the process, and it's hard to work through it.
yeah, and so when I was saying earlier that it just worked out where tonight was the open night, because I went from 5 days a week to the summer hours, which is just Thursday nights, and so I didn't have as many days open, and it just worked out tonight. And then I went, wait a minute, that's July 2nd, that's my mom's birthday. So today's my mom's birthday, and I don't think you knew that. I'm like, that just worked. I wanted to tell you that. So.
Oh, thanks for sharing that with me. Yeah, you've had a lot of pain and sorrow in the last few years, and I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, thank you. Coming from you, that means a lot. So you've grown in your empathy. How does that helps when you're working with people, right?
It does. So, I've been doing the grief coaching. It's just been a little over a year. So June 10th last year was when I started the grief coaching services, and it's been an interesting year. One of the first things I can say is it worked. It's different from grief counseling. Grief counseling, I think you'll find, people with PhDs or licensed social workers, etc., that do just a lot of listening. With grief coaching, you'll find that you have to be bought into the process. It's a partnership where, you work together. But I'll say in the last year, it's really grown. What I find interesting is that with COVID-19, people are facing different types of grief, loss of job, loss of business, loss of income, inability to be with loved ones because they may be in a hospital or a nursing home. And what I'm finding is that more people are recognizing their need to talk to someone who can help them through those difficult times. So that's one of the things that I've seen change since this 1 year. Also, in the last year, we've launched merchandise and a directory on our blog of really helpful books that I think are really critical and crucial for people that are going through difficulties. I think I'd say Anxious for Nothing by Max Lucado is an awesome book that will change your life. So there's some books out there that I've read through, gone through Bible studies through, and I think you'll find that some of those will really help you through challenges in life. In addition, on the website, I have the blog section, but we also launched a new section called the Cup of Joy.
Cup of Joy.
And
Joy, can I just ask you something? Can you move closer to the camera? I think that's probably why it's getting blurry.
Oh, sure.
It might sharpen up a little bit, and your audio will get louder. That's better. So you were talking about Cup of Joy is the name of the blog?
Cup of Joy is a new section on the website, and this section is in addition to the blogs, but it's a new section. This is where I post devotionals. So, a little more uplifting and devotional. So check those out. Those are some of the new. It's just 1 year that we've been around.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's what's the one on Max Lucado? Anxious or Don't Be Anxious.
Anxious for Nothing.
Anxious for Nothing. That's great. And so below Joy's name, you've got Joy Through Joy. That's her website. Go ahead and bookmark that or just jot it down and check it out later after the interview. And she's got some great blogs in there, and she's got some products. And you could even book there's a scheduler right there that you can just book some time with her, which is great because you do a lot of Zoom. So it's really easy. You just go right through Zoom, and there you are. You bring Joy right into your laptop in your office, in the privacy of your own home. Grab a cup of coffee and get some help. So, yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm so glad you're doing this. 1 year anniversary, the other day.
Yeah, just recently. Yep.
What did you do that day? Anything special? Just curious.
Well, I posted a blog.
Right.
I did post a 1 year anniversary blog. But other than that, it was a time for me because that's the anniversary of Mike's passing. So for me, it's also, I do something as a celebration. So I like to look back at photos and stuff of our time together.
Yeah. So what's the difference between
website and the coaching service? Go ahead.
Okay. What's the difference between grief coaching and joy restoration coaching?
So grief and joy restoration coaching is really a very innovative approach to grief support. It's tailored very closely to fit unique and individual needs to the griever, with someone that understands, can empathize. So in our sessions, I support, encourage, and help you discover the meaning of life after loss, and help you overcome what's causing pain. So, for example, grief coaching is really much more in-depth. It's for anyone suffering the loss of a loved one, or any living loss, right? So there's something called living loss, is where it's not just the death of someone, like a loved one, a pet, a husband, a spouse, a child, but it's things like loss of a job, loss of income, divorce, loss of relationships. Those are some examples of living loss. So the grief coaching is typically about 3 months in duration, but it's very detailed and in depth. So, and then the joy restoration is very, very closely mingled with grief coaching, but more about those who are going through a challenging time and just can't seem to get through it. So they may not need 3 months of intensive coaching. It's more about health and wellness and designing a new lifestyle, and also identifying values, objectives, and goals.
Do you think that category of the joy restoration coaching would be someone in a situation where maybe they regret something in their life? It has nothing to do with the death of someone, but maybe they were going to do something and they didn't, whether they were going to invest in something or start a new job or move to California to be with their girlfriend, but they decided not to, and they feel this regret like 5 years from now. They're still struggling with that. Would that fall under that category? Would that be something that you'd help someone with?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that absolutely falls into like the living loss. So, whether you're facing a relationship change or moving or whatever, and I think one of the things you touched upon that impacts it is, understanding and forgiveness. So yeah, all those things could fall under joy restoration, because it's typically, you're not going to need 3 months to process through something. You need less time and more focus on where you are and where you need to be and what are your objectives to get through the future and how do you work through them. So yeah, that's actually a really good example, Dave.
Yeah, because that's interesting. I think when people say, oh, a grief coach, well, no one I know died. It's not about death. It's about the death of something, right? But it's about the loss of something. And
example for myself, I suffered a loss just in December, right? Where downsizing at work caused me that I lost my job. So that's a loss where it causes grief. What's the future going to hold? How am I going to make it through the next, where's my income coming from? So, yeah, there's so many things outside of the loss through death that qualify for grief or joy restoration coaching.
Yeah, if you kind of expand your mind, you think, okay, it's not just humans, then it's pets, it's your cat, your dog. And then what else would it be? Would it be jobs? And actually, it's a lot of things. There's many things. People have regrets.
It could be weight issues. You're overweight. You just can't. You just don't feel good about yourself. You're grieving the fact that you can't, stay on a diet or whatever it is. But it's anything that causes you suffering and pain can equate to grief in your life, where you may need support to work through it, to find that joy and move forward and find peace.
Right. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, the joy. Yeah. So the joy restoration is like a specific situation in their life. Does not need 3 months, maybe a month or so, or even shorter, just what you need. But grief coaching is in the moment, right? Of someone just passed. Heavy.
Restoration is. It could be that you lost someone, and I've had people that have gone through this. You lost someone years ago, but every anniversary, you're fine throughout the year, but say on a holiday, it hits you like a tidal wave, and you just need a couple of weeks of support to help you get through that.
Let me ask you, do you ever, or would it help for you to be connected to veterans? Because I know, like, during the holidays, the fireworks are going off, that just freaks veterans out. They just can't. That's the worst time of the year, and then there's loss with them. Do you work with veterans? Can you do that?
I can do that. I have not yet. I'm looking to go into some of the hospice areas, but that's a great suggestion, because there's a lot of I hadn't actually thought of that, but that's something I'll have to look into.
I can connect you with.
Definitely, this could help them. Yeah, that would be great, because some of it is a mindset change. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah.
I can definitely connect you with someone that's working with veterans on that too. So he could probably help you. You can help him, vice versa. I'll write that down to remind you.
Thanks.
That's the cool thing. You interview people and you have a show and you get to know like everybody in the world. I'm becoming popular, Joy. So let's talk about the stages of grief. You kind of alluded to that earlier. How many stages are there, and what stages does a person go through?
So, this one is a really tricky one that I think people really have to understand. Every person grieves differently. And so there are different stages of grief, and I'll talk about them very, very, very briefly. But I think one of the things that is important is that we all grieve differently. Everybody has a different timetable. Everybody may or may not go through all the stages of grief, and the stages of grief are not predictable. So that's where it gets very, what do you mean? I'm going to go through these 5 stages of grief, and then maybe next year on a holiday, I may go back to one again. So, that's what grief is all about. So, I think first and foremost, I think it's important that people understand that it's normal to grieve. It's okay to cry. Whatever loss you're facing, you need to learn to embrace it. So the 5 stages of grief are denial. This can't be happening to me. This isn't happening. It's not real. Anger. You may be angry at your loved one for passing away for whatever reason, or at yourself for not doing more. Bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So, those are the 5 stages of grief. And I will say, on my blog, I posted several months ago a high-level blog on the 5 stages of grief, and then I did a 5-week arc that goes into details of each individual stage of grief. So if anybody wants to learn more, please go look at those. But it is essential to keep in mind that these stages may not occur in the same order, and they are not predictable. So again, like I said, each person's journey is different. And again, you may go through all, you may only go through a couple, and they may catch up on you later in time. So those are the 5 stages of grief. Wow. And I think one of the other things that is important is to consider and make sure you do things to take care of yourself while you're going through grief. Get a support network. Get the coaching. Do self-care. Self-care is really important because we lose sight of the fact when we're going through grief. I don't want to eat. I'm not taking care of myself. Those things are important. And take baby steps if you must. Sometimes it's good enough to just get up and get out of bed and brush your teeth for the day and go back to bed. Again, those are the 5 stages, but remember, this is your journey, not one that you care to travel. There's no time limit on your grief, and there's no prescribed path, feelings, or different ways to grief. So one day the pain will decrease, and you'll find joy again in your life, but I think it's so important to realize and embrace the fact that it's okay to cry, it's okay to understand. It's hard, you've got to go through it, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
That's good advice. That is really good advice. I remember thinking how when my mom died, and then my brother Bill, or my sister first, I can go through the whole list, had like 7 to 9 family members within the circle of our family pass. But you probably go through those stages. But I noticed when my dog died, so when my brother Bill died, that was really hard. But the very next day, out of the blue, my dog Cooper died. Had a heart attack right in front of us. Remember, I told you that. But that was a different, it wasn't all the same stages. It wasn't, I guess it was anger, because he had a bad heart we didn't really know about. We knew he might have had something, and so I was angry that he had that. But then that didn't pass long. It was really the shock. That stage lasted a while. I just couldn't believe it. And then, so it's different with animals, right? Maybe there's different stages. someone might go through with losing an animal, your pet?
Necessarily that. I'd say love is love and grief is grief. And that's why I said before, nobody can dictate your grief. I think the loss of a pet can be just as devastating as the loss of a loved one. And I've coached people that have lost pets, and it's devastating. Actually was able to hear the pain in their journey so very closely intertwined with how my pain when Michael passed. Mm-hmm. So I'd say, grief is grief. And that's why it's so unpredictable, because, it is what it is, and you got to work through it. It's different for each person. So I'd say I can't compare any grief, whether it's loss of job, loss of a pet, loss of a loved one, the same. They're all different and unique to any person going through that pain and grief.
Right. So if anybody has a question, type it in. We'll put it on there. Bob Goldberg said, everyone grieves differently and in different ways and times. Absolutely. Well said. Stephanie she said, Joy helped me through one of the most painful times of my life. Her compassion and tools that she gave me enabled me to get back to feeling whole again. That's great.
Thanks.
Steph Graves, yep. And Bob said, people who have not been a pet parent don't understand how losing a pet can affect people. Oh, yeah. I used to think as a kid, well, it's your dog, it's sad, but really? But wow, we are more, I think our hearts are more connected to our pets than we even realize it. I did not know that was hard.
Our pets have such unconditional love for us that their love is so pure and unique that losing that unconditional love is horrible. And Stephanie, hi, thank you so much, my friend.
Wow. So any questions anybody have, type in. Joy is here. We got her for another 5-10 minutes or so, and got a couple more questions for you, Joy. But if anyone has a question, type it right in and we'll get right to it. So what do you call it, a session? It's a session that you have?
A what?
A session, when someone books a session with you, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and can you explain what happens during a typical session?
I can, sure. So my approach to coaching is, first of all, to listen to your story, assess where you are in the grieving process, and work in partnership. That's so crucial, partnership. That's the difference between counseling and coaching. I work in partnership using proven tools and techniques to empower you to restore joy in your life. So again, each session is unique to the client and where they are in their grief journey. So though I have tools and techniques and processes and stuff, I tailor them individually, and I may do that, tailor them week to week. It all depends on what that client needs at that point in time. So the first thing I do is I ask a client to fill out what's called a readiness assessment form. Mm-hmm. And this actually determines if you, as a client, are ready and coachable. So I may ask a couple of questions that are like, I'm willing to try new ways of thinking or different ways of doing things. So another one is I value collaboration. So the first thing I do is have them fill out that form if they're interested, because, some people may think they're ready and they're not, and I don't want to waste their time or my time working through a process that they're just not ready. So that's the first step. And the second one is, once we determine this is a good fit, we have a free counseling session to get to know each other. And this is where the client's talking more and I'm asking questions, and we agree on what we want to accomplish together. And then if we agree we want to move forward after the initial session, I have them complete what's called a baseline happiness assessment form. And this is a couple pages that's scored and ranked, and it's crucial because this is the baseline that we will use together to assess where you fall in the spectrum of happiness, and will be used to gauge how our sessions will work moving forward. A typical question may be, I feel alive and full of energy, yes or no? I'm very enthusiastic about facing things on a daily basis, yes or no? So this helps us really know what areas we need to focus on together, and again, it's together, and what tools we need to do. We will eventually redo that baseline assessment, and I think you would find through the coaching process, you'd find that the initial baseline and the second one, you'll find yourself has made so much progress that you may not have even realized that you've made. And so it's such a valuable tool to see where we're going.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, establishing those benchmarks and the baselines.
Yeah.
If someone is not ready, and that's like one of the first
Yep.
sessions you have, how do you tell them, look, you're just not ready? I mean, they're going through grief. They want to hire you, but they're not ready for you. That's got to be sad. It's like, wow, I can't even get help.
So, I believe in being open and honest, and what I would do is I would offer them, if they still feel they want to go.
You froze up a second there.
How you feel after that. But I think it's, sorry. I think it's, I would probably simply say, let's do a couple of sessions and see how you feel after a couple of sessions. Because, that's a good point, David. And some people may say, all right, I fall in the spectrum that says I'm not ready for coaching, but I need it. Mm-hmm. So I would go through with some coaching with them, but I'd gauge it on a week-to-week basis together with them to say, is it working for you? And are you making the appropriate or the changes that will help you move to the next level of acceptance over grief? So I would not necessarily turn them down at all. Though I will say that if they're in the point where they're in the depression stage, I may refer them to someone more qualified than myself.
Right, because everyone's different, right? So you found it's about 3 months that it will take someone to go through all of this and be in a healthier situation?
I'd say it takes about 3 months to move yourself on the baseline assessment from the low score to the medium to a little bit higher score is average 3 months. Now, again, like I said, everybody is different, so it could take less, it could take a little bit more. But it won't take years, and that's why I said earlier, I wish I knew about grief coaching, because I spent years in grief that I didn't know how to process through. So the 3 months is like the average to get you to the medium score.
So not only are you helping people to get joy back in their life, but there's really another asset to your business. You're helping them not waste time. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Like, you need to get over your husband's loss or your wife's. It's not that. It's just you could have gotten over it 6 months earlier and be at the same place, but 6 months before, and you could have enjoyed a little more life. So that's actually, I didn't think of it that way. You're actually helping people enjoy a longer life by getting through it quicker.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
well,
you
Stephanie,
actually stated one of our objectives correctly, Dave, so thank you for saying that.
Yeah, Stephanie Graves just said, love you, joy. And she's also saying that the happiness assessment is an excellent tool. So, Stephanie, I guess you went through that, and that must have helped you. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
You got some fans on here tonight. Got another question. There's some Joy Restoration fans. Because gratitude's that's a big word you use, right? How does gratitude influence someone going through their grief?
I know. It sounds silly, doesn't it? But for me, because I'm Christian-based, gratitude keeps our focus on God. And when we develop a habit of gratitude, our mind shifts from what we don't have to what we do have, and we look at the positive. So one of the things I ask my clients to do is start a daily gratitude/kindness journal.
Mm-hmm.
Either every morning or every night, whenever it works, is find something that you can be grateful for. And for someone in the midst of turmoil of grief, it could be as simple as, I brushed my teeth, I'm grateful I did that. But the consistency of doing or finding one thing, at least one thing, eventually you want to get up to like 3 things that you can be grateful for, even in the midst of your turmoil and pain, slowly helps your mind shift
Mm-hmm.
so that you start to recognize things you're grateful for. And Dave, you know, because you've helped create this for me, is, one thing is if people want to sign up for email on my website, there's a free 21-day gratitude journal, and it's a great starting point. But if not, cut out a piece of paper, get a journal book. When you get up in the morning, it could be as simple as, I got up and took a shower, I brushed my teeth. Or for me, when I first started my first gratitude, the birds chirping outside, and I wrote that down. I love the sound of the birds chirping outside. So it slowly over time, if you do that consistently, it starts to slowly help you remember that there are still things to be grateful for. There's still happiness out in that world. There is a path to joy, and you can find peace and move forward.
I'm sure that those little seeds of gratitude that you're planting or asking people to plant is the seeds of change, right? And that helps them get through it faster.
It is. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so that you can go to Joy's website, joythroughjoy.com, and right there at the top, you can download that, put your email in. It's really good, so you can print it out on a PDF. It's really simple, that whole gratitude journal, because I read through the whole thing. It's very simple, but it's very powerful. And it's almost like you got to force yourself to, okay, I got to do it today. I got to write my gratefulness on. I got 2 things. I don't have 3, and you're trying your hardest. It's almost like the brain has to work a lot during this. Sometimes when we're hit with grief, it's almost like we're all focused on our heart. We're just brokenhearted. But doesn't the brain has to kind of catch up too, right?
It does. That's where, it's part of the heart and the brain working together, and they always don't connect so easily when you're going through grief. But take the 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes, 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Make it a habit each day, and over time you'll start to see a shift in focus. Right.
That's great. I'm so glad you came on. This is awesome stuff.
I'm so glad you invited me.
And I know I keep going back to pets only because it really is a broader topic. It's not just loss of people, although that's the number one. But I was reading something about the number one time that dogs take off and run away and get lost forever is this weekend. Starting tomorrow through Monday is the whole 4th of July with the fireworks. They might break away from their chain in the backyard or their leash, and whether they're a puppy or an older dog, and they're just too scared. And then they run down the street and there's a firework in that yard, and they run to another yard, and then they're so discombobulated, they're gone forever, sadly. That's where a lot of missing dogs happen. They've traced it back to the 4th of July weekend. So I guess one good piece of advice is just hug your loved ones, but also think of your pets at this time too, right? Make sure they're in the house and calm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Since we're on pets, I didn't mean to go here, but pets grieve as well, right?
I haven't actually talked to a pet, but
No one has that. Well, no one's actually paid you. No pet has actually paid you.
Oh, okay, there we go. No one's paid me to talk to a pet.
No, because I heard that you have two dogs, and one dog passes, the other dog is just devastated, and their joy level has dropped, and then they pass away soon. I've heard so many stories like that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think any human living being God created has grief from suffering. So it's not only dogs, it could be cats, it could be whatever. I mean, if you look at animals out in the wild that give birth and they get separated, the mom is always looking for them and looks sad. So, yeah, I think God created us all to love, and that means we all grieve when we lose love.
Yeah. This is good stuff. I'm glad you made it through 1 year anniversary.
Yes. Well, thank you, David, who created the website. So shout out to you.
Oh, you didn't have to say that.
I didn't have to, but I wanted to because I love it.
Well, that's good. That's awesome. No, I wish you the best of luck on your own and reaching out. So you have Zoom sessions. Is that what you're using, or are you using something else?
I'm using Whereby.
Oh, you're using Whereby. Okay. That's like the one we use.
Love it.
Isn't it great?
I don't know. I love it. So
yeah,
that's
Zoom.
what I use.
Zoom's a little confusing. You gotta go to the website. You gotta log in the thing. You gotta download the app. You gotta put in the group name, and then it's like, what's the password? Then you gotta type the password, and then turn your camera on. There's a lot.
A lot of people hijack Zoom meetings, so no, I like the Whereby. It works great for me, and thank you for introducing that to me.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that that's what you're using. I remember mentioning that to you. So yeah, if anybody wants to have a virtual conference with Joy, just I guess we'll just go to your website, right, and contact you, and then you'll set up some appointment.
Page. Yep, contact page. You can reach out to me. There's a phone number there and a contact information. So happy to help and work through anybody that needs anything in terms of grief or loss. And, David, again, thank you again. I appreciate you having me on tonight.
No problem. I'll just say one more thing. So if you're listening and watching this, just go ahead and click on the share right underneath this video. It says like, comment, share. Click on share, and what does it do? Just go to where it says share now, public, which means it just goes to your own page, or you could send as message. So if you click that, you will be sharing the link to this live feed, because this is getting recorded too. And you could share that to someone that you know that has gone through some loss or is about to go through loss. I'm sure Joy can help someone previous to that, someone who has aging parents, or someone who's in hospice that's even a lot younger than 70s, 80s, 90s, and they need to connect with Joy to kind of process what they're going through. So do that. Give Joy a little favor there. Share it, or share it to a group that you're part of. That'd be really good. Just share away. Liking, I tell people, liking is liking. Sharing is loving. So, Joy, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye. She's so sweet. I love Joy. She's awesome. She's an old friend, and that photo, I should bring that up again. That was there he is. Mike, bigger than life. You know what? I'm gonna keep it big. Cause that's Mike. Mike's big. He's a big guy. He's big in volume. I told him once, he was my roommate at one time, and we had an apartment together. And he I told him once, I said, you got to be the loudest human being I've ever met. And he just got in my face. He's like, oh yeah, you haven't seen loud. And he went even louder. He's kind of an in your face kind of guy. When people say, oh, they broke the mold. When they say that to people, like, oh, they passed away. She passed away. He's passed away. They broke the mold. I'm telling you right now, if anyone has met Mike Harold, oh, I just threw his photo off there. Let me put it back in there. If anyone's met this guy right here, they broke the mold. God broke the mold. There is no one else. He's just bigger than life. Great guy. He was kind of like my older brother. He's a spiritual mentor. He was my audience to my bad humor. I'd be playing music and in a band and all that stuff, and he knew nothing. He had horrible pitch, couldn't sing, but he just was my biggest fan. With anything I did, we were complete opposites, complete total opposites. I would have never hung out with him, but the fact that we became friends, it's like, wow, we were just inseparable in many things. We went everywhere together. But I miss him. That was a sad day. But that was really good that Joy came on. And seriously, if you got someone going through some loss, go to her website, just share. That's why I did this show, to really promote businesses during this pandemic, to really lift them up and give them a voice, because people aren't meeting in person. They're not going out to your place of business, getting to know you. So how do they get to know you? Boom, right here. We're live. So thank you for watching. I know we're kind of dwindling crowd here, but thank you for everybody for watching. Stephanie Cesaro Graves, or Steph Graves, I guess she calls it, Bob Goldberg, bunch of people. I got a lot of people. This got shared to a lot of pages, I think 19 pages. So appreciate it. Appreciate all the love there. And remember, in closing, because it is 10:01, I tend to always end at 10:01. I don't know why. Everyone has an expiration date. Treat everybody like that may be the last time you talk to them. And you'll find out that you're becoming a better person that way. Thank you. Take care. See you next Thursday. Mystery guest next Thursday, 9 o'clock. Go ahead, like the page, follow the page. I'm not going to tell you who it is. And have a great 233rd birthday. Is that what it is? Is it 233 years? Yeah, I think we're 233 years old. Happy birthday, America. Bye-bye.